I now want to help you understand the concepts of what Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is. So what is it? Well, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is a enterprise grade security platform that Microsoft makes available to us. Of course, we do have to license it. It is not free. All right. But it provides a series of things that can assist us with helping provide advanced security for our environment, including things like threat and vulnerability management, attack surface reduction, what's known as next gen protection, endpoint detection response, the ability to support auto investigation and remediation, and finally, we are tied to Microsoft's threat experts, which there are over 3,000 of their security team available in this world, where they are constantly looking for different security vulnerabilities and adding those to what's called a threat intelligence database. Let's look a little more in depth on some of this. So some of the capabilities that are being provided to you. First, you have endpoint behavioral sensors. So in the cybersecurity world, there have been a type of system available for decades now called IDS. IDS is intrusion detection systems, and these were sensors that could be placed on a network that had the ability to detect that there are threats on a network. Of course, they also came out with what was known as an intrusion prevention system that could also try to prevent threats. Well, the problem now is, of course, our endpoints, our devices, could be all over the world, so you can't just place a sensor on a network and expect it to really be able to notice everything that's going on anymore. With the help of the Defender for Endpoint, it essentially turns all of your devices into sensors that can detect the latest and greatest threats in the environment where those machines are. Another thing you get is cloud security analytics. So this provides a large amount of information that gets collected from our various machines, and those machines can send that information to the cloud, which in turn gives us as admins the ability to see a wide variety of the various things that are going on. We can see all the machines, we can see the analytic data they've collected. And the last thing on the screen here is threat intelligence. So Microsoft has, again, the threat intelligence security team out there these are people that are out there constantly looking for threats. And Microsoft has, they pay these threat hunters, if you will, to locate threats. And of course, the more threats and vulnerabilities they discover, the more money they make. And of course, that ends up benefiting everybody in the Microsoft world, because of the fact that these vulnerabilities and threats have been discovered and then placed in the database, which means our endpoints can then detect those threats, and things can occur, such as alerts can be generated. It can take action and try to stop the threats. The next would be threat and vulnerability management. So these are the tools that we have for prioritizing certain types of threats and allowing our devices to remediate those threats in cases where things are discovered. So if a threat is discovered, maybe an application has some kind of a malware in it or something along those lines, or a application is taking steps that looks to be a threat, then our device has the ability to go through and take action and prevent things from occurring again, and blocking an app completely from running if we want. The attack surface reduction. So what is that exactly? So when you hear that term attack surface, you are basically reducing the entryways into breaking into something. I always use the analogy, it's kind of like a house, right? If you think about a house, you were thinking about the attack surface of that house. Well, let's say we were trying to stop a robber from breaking into this house and stealing stuff. We would first want to think about the attack surface. That's all the doors, all the windows, any potential entryway into that house would be the attack surface. So what we would want to do is we want to put security controls in place to prevent a robbery from occurring. Maybe we got good locks on the door. Maybe we buy a better door, a solid door, good locks on the door. We've got cameras. We've got an alarm system. We put alarm systems on the windows. We could have even a guard dog, would be, in my case, I have a dog that's more of an alarm dog than a guard dog. She's a big old coward, but she would bark if you tried to break in and alert me, right? So that's an example of that, though. So if you kind of take that analogy and put it over into device security, this is going to involve things like mitigating threats on that device that would lower the attack surface. So this is an improvement upon our security on our devices. So then you have next generation protection. Anytime you hear that term next gen or next generation, they're usually talking along the lines of making a device become a sensor, a way of detecting threats and then acting upon those threats. So this is what the next generation protection involves. Turning your devices, instead of having a security perimeter on a network, every device has its own security perimeter. And you have a way for those devices to all be monitored. And of course, that happens with the help of the cloud. Then we have endpoint detection and response. This essentially means that when a threat is discovered, and it gets placed in that security database, the machines can find out about it very, very quickly, and they can act on threats. They have the ability of alerting the cloud services. And so maybe a brand new threat is discovered. A machine has artificial intelligence to say, hey, something suspicious is going on. I've got an application that is attempting to maybe change a DLL file or something on the operating system, and it can stop it, and then it can alert their database, which means their threat hunters and all that security intelligence team can act on it. Then you've got automated investigation and remediation. So this is something that with automatic investigation and remediation, if you look, this kind of works in conjunction with the endpoint detection and response. So again, this is taking information that's discovered and then reporting it, and also it has the ability to generate alerts. So an admin could be alerted that something is going on. Then you've got Microsoft's Secured Score. This is a neat feature that we have within our Microsoft 365 services that essentially can, it looks at all of the features and licenses and services that we are utilizing in our cloud services and with our machines, and it can see which security capabilities and features we have acted on. So what have we done to improve our environment? And then from there, it gives us a score and lets us know what the ranking is. And another thing that's neat about it is it also gives us a comparison of other companies out in our environment based on size and services, and we can see kind of how we rank up against these other companies or other organizations that also have the same amount of devices and users as we do. And finally, the last thing, of course, mentioned here is the threat experts, which you've heard me mention a few times. These are the hunters and the security intelligence team. Again, Microsoft has over 3,000 people that they work with worldwide for discovering the latest and greatest threats and all that. And they have what is known as a SOC, or can work in conjunction with SOCs, which is the security operations centers out there, which is a way of basically monitoring the worldwide services involving Microsoft for securing everything. So lastly here, we have integration with Microsoft solutions. So you're going to find that Defender for Endpoint works in conjunction with a lot of the various services out there that we have. The Azure Security Center, so just the security center we have on the Azure side. You have Microsoft Sentinel. You have Intune. Of course, this is going to be one of our major ways for enforcing things out there. We have Defender for Cloud Apps. So this used to be called Cloud App Security, but this is this set of portals that's specifically just for application security. It also works with Defender for Identity, so it works in conjunction with all the artificial intelligence that we have for looking at identities and making sure accounts haven't been breached. And then finally, we have Microsoft Defender for Office 365, which means that it can communicate with the various Office 365, or what they call Microsoft 365 apps these days, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, things like that, and make sure that certain security measures are being taken there, as well as the apps are being monitored with the help of the Defender for Endpoint. So all in all, again, this is a very, very powerful security feature. It is something that has to be licensed, but it is incredibly powerful in our environment. It brings a lot of improved security to the table.